Hello my friends, my name is malty. I understand that you've already watched the introduction to this script, to malty Snapshot. If not, then make sure your annotations are turned on and then just click on my face. Click on my face. Click it. As you can see, Snapshot is already set as a button on my FT toolbar. Now, FT toolbar is not one of my scripts, but I highly recommend it. It's really great, and Snapshot and all of my other scripts work great with it. Not only because it's accessible, and that's what you want for this sort of script, but it also has some hidden modes which you can execute holding different modifier keys like Control, Shift, and Alt. So it's really easy to launch the script like that. And if you're watching this video from YouTube or from my own site malty.com or from any other source, make sure to go to aescripts.com and log into your account, because there just might be some cool cross promotion, cross discount for any of my scripts and FT toolbar. So make sure to check that out. As you've seen in the previous video, the first time you run the script, you get this little dialog box with all the settings, and then you don't. Each time you run the script, after that, you don't get that dialog box. And there's a reason for that, and there's also a way to bring this dialog box back if you want, but I'm going to get to that a little bit later. There are actually 3 modes in which the script can be executed, and I'm going to get to that later on. But first, I would like to tell you a little bit about what's going on under the hood, because I think that might be important for some of you guys. You know what? No, I'm gonna explain those 3, actually 4 modes to you right now. So the first one is obviously the default mode, in which you just click the button and the snapshot gets created, right? So it does create a snapshot, and you can even see the information about it when you click it. It says it's saved just happy snappy right now. So that's it. Number 3, number 4, number 5, da 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 da. So that's the first mode. The second mode is the setting mode. So you want to gain control over how the script writes the files. So in order to get into that mode, you have to launch the script holding the control key, right? Makes sense. So I'm holding the control key, pressing the button, and that brings me to the settings dialog box in which you define the default behavior for the script. The third mode is the alternative mode, alternative to the default settings that you've created. So to go into that mode, you have to launch the script holding the Alt key. So I'm pressing the Alt and launching the script, and this will show me the regular save as dialog box in which I can type whatever name I like, and I can save it at whatever location I like, and that location will be remembered for the next time you launch the script. And the last mode, the fourth mode, is the shift mode, in which you are shifting the snapshots that you have just created and putting them back into the project panel. So right now I'm gonna click just the regular click, so the default mode. So as you can see, the snapshot number 7 was created, so the next one will be number 8. So when I click it holding the shift key, just like that, it will get imported back into my project panel. As you can see, the folder malty snapshot was created, and in that folder sits a snapshot called happy snappy number 8. So that's that, and the modes can be combined. So you can combine the shift and the alt mode together to create something like this. I'm holding the shift and the alt key and launching the script. Of course, I have to have a composition selected because I don't at this moment. So I'm selecting this composition, holding shift and alt, pressing the button, and that again brings up the save as dialog box. I'm going to say quick example, hit save, and not only I have saved it at a custom name, I have also imported it back into After Effects. So that's a very quick run of all those modes, but make sure to watch the tutorial till the end, because it might make more sense and some other cool features will be explained. Oh, and by the way, the original project file that you saw in the introduction video uses 2 of my other scripts, both of which are available here at aescripts.com. The first one is multi-cuber that was used to create this awesome looking 3-dimensional book, and the other one is multi-simple camera rig. As you can see, I've got a bunch of features in here like out of focus, camera movement. It's just a beauty, so make sure to check that out. So back to the tutorial. There are two very important things to know about Snapshot. It, first of all, keeps track of all the snapshots you have taken for a given composition, for a given project. So if you would to restart your workstation or open up the project like a week later on, or even later than that, it will still remember how many snapshots you have taken. So as you can see, all these snapshots I have taken have different names. Like I've got the name for this composition, lying books, then dots, word snap, and the number, and the same for the standing books composition. That's the first thing to know about Snapshot. The second thing to know is that it doesn't check for existing files. So if a file already exists, it will be overwritten. This might seem a little bit scary, but you don't really have to worry about it, because the main essence of the script is to do quick snapshots, and you have a way to define your own file naming pattern, and I'm gonna get to that a little bit later. So there are many fail-safe built into the script, but the reason why it doesn't check for existing files is simply because if I would like to overwrite files, I would really have to do it consciously, and I'm gonna explain that and show you that in a second. So first of all, let me show you what I've done for this demo. As you can see, the name of the project file is different, and I have it located in a different directory. I have a directory called studying, which is the name of this tutorial, studying malty snapshot. So just to show you how that works, how you can reset the counters, and how overwriting files work, I'm just gonna make a couple of snapshots over here. So I'm just gonna emulate that this is the first run of the script. So the dialog box shows up. I have this little checkbox saying do not show this dialog box again, and I also have the checkbox always save snapshots at full resolution, which is what is happening. You will notice that my current comp is set to half resolution, but the snapshots will be actually saved in full resolution. And I also have this file naming pattern. We've got the name, the word snap, and then the index number, but I'm gonna get to that in a second. So I'm just gonna click snap, and I'm gonna move to 1 second, click snap, maybe 2 seconds, snap, 3, snap, 4, snap, and I'm gonna make 4 other snapshots for this comp, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So right now I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4 snapshots for my composition. Okay, so what happened right now? Snapshot created a log file that is located in your home directory, which, depending on your operating system, is either located on your operating system drive, probably C on Windows, then the user directory, then your username, and that's your home directory. And on Mac, it's pretty much similar. So you've got the Macintosh HD / your username or something like that. So this is my home directory, and as you can see, I've got this file called malty-snapshot.log, and that is where all the tracking information sits. So if I would to delete this file, Snapshot would start indexing my snapshots from the beginning. So just to demonstrate this, let me open up those snapshots over here. So as you can see, these are the snapshots that I have just taken. So I'm going to close this down, and I'm going to change something in my composition. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to add snapshot word to, or you know what, actually I'm going to also put the name of the composition. So I'm going to say this comp dot name. Oh, my typing is off. This comp dot name, and I'm gonna do the same thing over here like this. Okay, standing books and lying books. Great. So now I'm gonna make the snapshots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I'm gonna do the same thing for those. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So let me just open up the folder. As you can see, I've got 5 snapshots for both compositions, and now when I open them up, I have the updated look. Usually this is not the way you want to do this. If you want to keep overriding the same snapshot for a given composition, there are different ways to do that. You don't really want to delete the log file unless you know exactly what you're doing. So let me show you when the overriding files may come in handy, and that is where we get into opening up the settings dialog box. So that's the first mode, the first hidden mode of launching the script. So you have to hold Control key on your keyboard and then run the script. This will bring up the settings dialog box. And in here, as you've probably already guessed, we've got those two checkboxes, which I have already explained. This one actually says run this script holding Control to show this dialog box again to change the settings. I usually design my scripts so that would get out of my way, because I like just to click a button and have everything taken care for me. So having to ask you each time what file you want to name this snapshot and where you want to put it, and showing this dialog box every single time can be really messy deal. So I don't want to do that to you nor to myself. And also we've got the always save snapshots at full resolution, which is pretty self-explanatory. But the most important thing is this file naming pattern. There are many variables you can use in this file naming pattern, and to get a list of them, just click this little icon in here. So these are the instructions for the script, the whole instructions, everything is in here. And this is the most interesting part. These are the variables that you can use in your file naming. So right now I'm going to show you a useful way of this non-checking for existing files feature. So let's say I want to have one generic snapshot for each of my compositions in my project, and if I change something in that composition, I want the snapshot to reflect that, right? So the obvious way to do this is to simply get rid of the indexing, and I can as well just get rid of the name snap in here. So instead I'm just going to leave the variable n, and maybe, just maybe, I'm just going to add the p, which is the name of the project file. So I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna say $P. Now I can put any text I like. It doesn't have to be a dot. It doesn't actually have to be anything. I just like to separate things with a dot. That's just my thing. So I'm just gonna use that and click snap. And as you will see, this was just created proxy, which is the name of my project file, and then the name of the composition.png. So now each time, let me just open this up. Each time I'm going to make a snapshot, this file will get overwritten. So as you see, the files only get overwritten if you know what you're doing, basically. So if you don't want to mess with that, just leave the default settings on. They have indexing numbers in them, so that's pretty safe on its own. So I'm just going to make some changes in here. I'm going to move to this position and make a snapshot. And as you will see, this will get reflected immediately. Just to make it really, really obvious, I'm going to move to the end of the composition and click snapshot again. So now when we open this up, this is what we get. So that's pretty self-explanatory. I can do the same thing for the other composition. And now I have a way to send like preview images to my client, or basically do a snapshot for my website, for tutorials, for YouTube, or for whatever you really want to use it. So the fact that it doesn't warn you about overwriting files, I find actually very useful. So that's the first case in which the files will get overwritten on purpose. And there's also another way to do this. If we're going to open up the settings again, you will notice that we have this F parameter, which is current frame, and the capital F, which is current frame including start time code. You will get the same behavior with the T parameter, which is current time, and current time including start time code. So I'm just going to do this $sign and F, which corresponds to frame, and having that done, I am actually both safe so that I can create multiple snapshots of the same composition, but I will also be overriding the files made from the frames that are already there, that already exist. So I'm going to click save. As you can see, I'm at the frame 100. Actually, maybe I'm just going to add a word frame to this, or maybe just frame like this, and click snap, so we know that the next number refers to the frame. As you can see, the file was already created for me. It's somewhere in here. Yes, it's right here. Proxy standing books frame 100. So that's that, and don't worry about the leading zeros. It's a smart script, so if your composition is very long, or if you have a very long star timecode offset parameter set, to which I will get in a second, this will be respectively bigger, so don't worry. So I'm going to make a couple of snapshots in here, and in here, and in here. So right now I know exactly from which frames I have taken the snapshots. Oh, look at that, perfect aim, 25, 50, 100, and 125, perfect. So let's just make a huge change, okay? We are at frame 125 right now, so let's make a huge change to this. Let's, for example, change the hue. It's going to be an awful change, but it is going to make the point. Let's make this blue. Well, it actually doesn't look that bad. So let's just click snap again. So the snapshot was executed. So right now, as you can see already here in the thumbnail, the 125th frame got overwritten, but all the other ones are still the same. So again, not warning you about overriding files, I actually find as a cool feature. Next, let's open up the settings again. Just as a reminder, I'm holding Control on my keyboard to open up the settings. And I assure you, once you find your file naming pattern that suits you, you will hardly ever have to open up this dialog box again. That's why this little checkbox is so precious. Right now, I'm just opening it up to show you other variables that we have here. For example, this capital F, small f, and capital T and small t. Just to show you what the T format looks like, I'm going to change this last variable to T, and I can actually get rid of this and click snap. And let's just go back to the folder, and as you can see, we've got the time of the snapshot exactly as it's displayed here in After Effects. So we can move around and we can make snapshots as we like. Maybe let's make one at a strange position like 217 or something and see how that works. As you can see, we've got everything in here that are all blue because we have changed the hue. We can get rid of that now. So that is how the time parameter works. But there's also this time including the offset. So let me show you how that works. I'm going to make the start timecode offset now. So I'm going to go into my composition settings, and I'm going to set it to 1 over here, which stands for 1 hour. Okay, as you can see, everything here changed. We are currently at frame 90,067, and the time is 1 hour 2 seconds 17 frames. But since my settings say small t, they say small t, which stands for current time and not current time including start timecode, the result will be the same as before. So if I'm going to overwrite this, I am overwriting the file that you can see in here. As you can see, all others are still blue and we don't have the 1 at the beginning. This file got overwritten because this is localized time from the beginning, assuming that this is 0. Maybe I should change it to something else because you can't really see that. Let's make it something really strange. 21 hours. Okay, as you can see, this doesn't start at 0, but the script will treat it as such when you use small t or small f. If you wanted to always use the start timecode offset, make sure to use the capital F or capital T. So that's about it for the time codes and the frame numbers. There's one more thing about the index numbers. You've probably noticed that there are two index numbers that we can use. We've got the small I, which I've been using until now, and we've got the capital I. The small I corresponds to the index number for the given composition that you're working in, and the capital I is like a global index for the entire project. You can use the combination of both, but I don't really see any sense in that, so either use the small I or the capital I. I think that the small I is more useful and easier to understand, but that depends on what sort of snapshots you're going to be doing for your current project. So I think that covers everything in here. Things like date and composition name, project name are pretty self-explanatory. And here are the magical 3 modes, actually 4, in which you can run the script. So let me just show you how that works. I'm just going to cancel out of it, and to make things a little bit clearer, I'm going to delete the multi-snapshot log file, and I'm going to delete all the snapshot that I've taken just to clear this space out because it's getting cluttered in this demo video. So let me just set the file naming pattern to something more meaningful, like name of the composition, dot, and the index number of the snapshot that I'm taking. That's pretty much all that I need. So I'm just gonna click snap and save, which saves the settings and creates the snapshot at the same time. So I'm gonna click snap. As you can see, the snapshot was created, and now I'm going to show you the second mode in which the script can run, because actually the third one, because the first one is the regular use, the second one is the settings mode, so this is the third one. The third one is the alternative file name. Remember it as such because the modifier key to launch the script in that mode is Alt. So by setting all of these settings in here, you create sort of a default behavior for the script. But from time to time, there might be a situation where you want just 1 or maybe 2 snapshots to be created outside of that default behavior. So you want to alternate it. You want to have the alternate way of saving the file. So that's what the Alt modifier key does. So let me just show you that. I'm going to hold down Alt while I launch the script. And now I get a regular save as dialog box. It will remember your last custom location at which you saved. In my case, that was just my desktop. But to make things nicer, I'm just going to move it back to this directory in which we are working. So I'm just gonna move it over here, and I'm going to say standing books snapshot, and that is my custom name and custom location. And the next time I run this, for example, for this composition, and again I'm going to launch it with the Alt key, I am going to get the same location. Even though the script suggests the file name, this will not get logged. So just to show you, I'm going to make this lying books snapshot over here. And since we already have one indexed snapshot for the standing books, I'm going to create another file called standing books second. And still, if I run the script in the default mode, so without any modifier keys, it will create the second snapshot because that is the index number that the script is tracking. So now I'm clicking the snapshot, and as you can see, it created the second snapshot with the index. These ones we didn't track. So that's it for the Alt mode. There's one more mode left, and that is the Shift mode, in which we can shift the saved snapshot and put it back into our project panel in After Effects. So I'm just going to open up the project panel, and I'm going to move somewhere, I don't know where, maybe let's use this comp for this example, and create a snapshot over here, and I'm going to create another one over here. And by the way, while you're making snapshots and you have your info panel opened up, it will give you the information that the file was saved. So for example, I'm going to make a snapshot over here, and it gives us information that the lyingbooks.003 PNG was saved. So I'm going to move over here and make another one, so it tells us the number 4 was saved. And just to make sure you remember the modifier keys, I'm going to save one with the Alt key, so the alternative, custom, location, and file name, and let's say alternative, and I'm gonna click save, and as you can see, saved alternative.png. Oh, and by the way, as I'm sure you've already noticed, the default location for the snapshots that you're taking is the location of your project file, so it has to be saved. Okay, not to distract myself, let's talk about this shift mode. So we have already taken how many snapshots of this lying books? 1, 2, 3, 4 snapshots. So the next one we're going to do is going to be number 5. So look what happens when I'm going to create snapshot holding the shift key. A new folder in my project panel was created called malty snapshot, and in here I have my snapshot that I have just taken called lyingbooks.005.png, and that is what the shift mode does. You can remember the modifier key for that function just by looking at the key. It has the up arrow icon on it, right? So you're shifting, you're lifting up the file and you're putting it in your project panel. That's exactly how I remember it. And the cool thing about those modifier keys is that they can be combined. So I can use Shift and Alt together. That's exactly what I'm doing now. I'm pressing Shift and Alt while I launch the script, and it now gives me the message that I have to have a composition active, because right now I don't have anything selected in my After Effects, so I have to make sure that I have my composition selected. So having that done, again, I'm holding Shift to bring the file back into After Effects and Alt to change the file name, to make it custom and alternative to the default behavior of the script. So once again, launching the script and calling this custom import and hitting enter, and as you can see, the file got imported into After Effects. So that's pretty much it. I think I covered everything there is to cover about how Snapshot works, and now I would like to show you some other maybe less obvious example of using this script. So let me just create a new project, a totally new project, and I'm going to show you why I built this script in the first place. So time ago I was assigned to make a localized version of a promo for a TV show. Unfortunately, I only got the rendered file in the MP4 format, as you can see in here. That's all that I got, and that was what I had to work with. So, you know, it seems pretty straightforward, right? You just have to patch it up and do all sorts of stuff with it and replace the text, but it's just such a tedious task. Each time you want to do this, you have to go to composition, say frame as, file, or Photoshop player, and that adds the position in the render queue. You have to set the file name, you have to render it, you know, it's just a mess, right? And it clutters up the render queue, which I might just already have set up in the way I like, right? Ready for rendering overnight or whatever. So I don't want to do that. So that's the main reason why I built this script, not to mention the fact that it actually handles the file naming and everything, so it's really just freaking great. As you can see, this file already has a timecode offset in it, so depending on if it's important to you or not, you can change it or leave it as it is. For me, it wasn't that important because I didn't have to put it in any other editing system. I just had to render the published version out of it. So what I usually do in those cases is I just reset this parameter, click OK, and that's just totally fine. And in this situation, I'm going to use the frame number as my indexing. And again, Usually you don't have to change these settings unless it's a special situation. So once you find the formatting pattern, the file naming pattern that you like, there's hardly any chance you're ever going to change it. But in this case, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to open up the script, and it tells me make sure the project file is saved because it doesn't know where to save the files, which is such a beautiful feature. It happened to me too many times that I've done something and I've forgotten to save the file. Luckily, my workstation is pretty stable, so it doesn't crash, but you know, it gives you a heart attack when after 6 hours of work you suddenly realize it didn't save. So that's a nice feature. I'm going to save this and call this cars, and now I can launch the script. And I'm going to launch it with the control key to give me these settings, and instead of the index number I'm going to use the frame number. So that's that. And usually what I do in these patching sort of situations, I usually put my footage in the footage composition, and then I split this footage composition into separate precoms, which then I edit. But since this is just a very short demonstration, I'm going to assume that I have already done that, and I have just one composition over here, which is called O1, which would consist of more or less that much footage. Okay, so I'm going to trim it, and now I can pick a frame with which I want to work. So I think this one is pretty good. The car is already in here, the text is set up, so all I have to do is just click snap, but I'm going to click snap holding the shift key because I want this file to be imported back into After Effects. So clicking with the shift key, and as you can see, I have my O1 and the frame number exactly as displayed over here imported back into my After Effects. And this is important because now I can just simply get this file into my Photoshop, do the very simple editing that I have to do, in which Photoshop is way better, faster, and more reliable than After Effects. And just like that, I have my patched file. Maybe just get rid of those duplicate wrinkles, and I can save the file again, go back into After Effects and just put this file on top of my footage, mask it out as I need to, like this, and put some localized Polish text on top of it. So I think that's everything about Snapshot that I can think of. I'm sure you will find it very useful, just as I have. Let me know in the comments what you think about the script, or drop me a line on my Facebook page. Thanks again. Happy After Effecting. Oh, I almost forgot. Random fact about the universe: